3 days ago, I died. At least, that's what everyone believes. My car went off a cliff, exploded, and no one thought anyone could survive. But I did. And when I came back home, I didn't find relief. I found my husband and my daughter sitting on the roadside with bags beside them, like they had been thrown out. Then my husband looked at me like he was seeing a ghost and said something that shattered everything I thought I knew about my life. So the real question is, what happened in those 3 days while the world thought I was dead? Before I tell you what really happened, take a second to like and subscribe and tell me where you're watching from. Now, let's begin. The moment my car lost control, everything went silent. I was driving along a narrow road, far away from the city. No traffic, no noise, just long winding turns and the soft sound of wind brushing against the windows. I had planned this trip for weeks. An old friend had moved out here into a quiet place surrounded by hills and open land. Life had been overwhelming lately, busy, nonstop, and I kept delaying this visit. But that morning, I finally told myself, no more excuses. And for a while, it felt perfect. I even remember smiling, thinking how badly I needed this break. And then I pressed the brake. Nothing. At first, I thought maybe I didn't press hard enough, so I tried again, harder. Still nothing. A cold wave shot through my body. My hands tightened around the steering wheel as the car began to pick up speed. The road ahead curved sharply, and beyond that curve, there was nothing but a steep drop. No, 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 I whispered, my heartbeat pounding violently in my chest. I tried everything, pumped the brakes, slowly pulled the handbrake, adjusted the steering, but the car wasn't responding. It felt wrong, like control had already been taken away from me, like something had already decided how this would end. The edge was getting closer, and in that moment, I knew something terrifying. If I stayed inside that car, I wouldn't survive. Everything slowed down. My mind flashed straight to my husband and my daughter, her little laugh, the way she runs to hug me every evening. I couldn't let that be my ending. So just seconds before the edge, I made a choice. I opened the door and jumped. The impact hit me like a shockwave. The moment my body slammed into the ground, all the air was knocked out of my lungs. I rolled hard across the rough surface, stones cutting into my skin, pain exploding through my arms and legs. For a few seconds, I couldn't breathe. My ears rang violently, my vision blurred, everything felt distant, unreal. And then, boom, a loud explosion tore through the silence behind me. I forced my head to turn, slowly, painfully, and that's when I saw it. Flames rising from below. My car had gone over the edge, crashed into the valley, and now it was burning. Bright, violent, final. I just lay there, staring at it, unable to move. If I had waited even one more second, I closed my eyes, trying to steady my breathing. My entire body ached, every inch of me screaming in pain. But somehow, I was alive. I don't know how much time passed after that. Minutes, maybe longer. Everything felt hazy, like I was drifting in and out of consciousness. I remember faint voices, distant at first, then closer. Footsteps, people shouting. Local villagers had found me. They lifted me carefully, speaking in worried tones I could barely understand. My head felt heavy, my thoughts scattered. I tried to say my name, but my voice came out weak, broken. They carried me to a small house nearby, not a hospital, just a simple place. But they did what they could. They cleaned my wounds, gave me water, let me rest. My phone was gone, probably lost in the crash. For the next 2 days, I stayed there. I wasn't critically injured, but my body was completely drained. Every small movement hurt. My head felt constantly heavy, like I couldn't fully wake up. Sometimes I would just lie there, staring at the ceiling, replaying everything: the brakes, the curve, the fall, the fire. But more than anything, I kept thinking about my family. My husband must have been calling me again and again, wondering why I wasn't answering. My daughter, she would be asking where I was. Maybe she was waiting by the door, expecting me to walk in at any moment. That thought hurt more than anything else. I need to go home, I whispered to myself. And by the third day, I finally could. By the third day, I could finally stand without feeling like the world was spinning. Every step still hurt, but it didn't matter anymore. I thanked the people who had saved me. I didn't even know their names, but I knew one thing: I owed them my life. Then I started the journey back home. The road felt different this time, longer, heavier. Every step carried a strange feeling I couldn't explain, like something inside me was trying to warn me that things weren't the same anymore. At first, I told myself it was just exhaustion, but deep down, it felt like something else. When I finally reached my street, I slowed down. Something felt off, too quiet, too still. And then I saw them. My husband sitting on the roadside, my daughter beside him, her small shoulders shaking as she cried quietly. And next to them, bags, not small ones, packed bags, like they had nowhere else to go. For a moment, I just stood there, frozen, trying to understand what I was looking at. Why were they outside? Why did they look like that? I took one step forward, then another. My daughter looked up first. Her eyes widened instantly. "Mama!" That one word broke something inside me. My husband turned slowly, and the moment his eyes met mine, his entire face changed. Shock, disbelief, fear, like he was staring at something that shouldn't exist, like he was looking at a ghost. For a few seconds, no one spoke. No movement, no sound, just silence hanging between us. Then finally, in a quiet, shaken voice, he said, you said you didn't survive." My mind struggled to catch up. The accident, the fire, the journey back home. But this didn't make sense. "What are you talking about?" I asked softly. "I'm right here." Before he could respond, my daughter ran toward me and threw her arms around me tightly, crying into my clothes. I held her instantly, pulling her close, feeling her small hands gripping me like she was afraid I might disappear again. I'm here, I whispered, gently stroking her hair. But my eyes never left my husband, because the way he was looking at me told me something was very, very wrong. "They told us you were gone," he said, a voice coming out slower, heavier, like he was still trying to believe what he was seeing. "They said your car went off the cliff, that it exploded. The police came. They said no one could survive that." I swallowed hard, my fingers tightening slightly around my daughter. "They didn't even find a body," he added, his voice tightening. "But they said after a fire like that, there wouldn't be anything left to find." A heavy silence settled between us. For a second, I couldn't process it. Then one thought pushed through everything. "So you just believed them?" I asked quietly. "It wasn't just me," he replied, running a hand through his hair, clearly overwhelmed. "Everyone believed it. Your family came immediately. They handled everything so fast." Something about that didn't sit right. "Handled everything?" I asked. He hesitated, then exhaled slowly. "Everything," he said. "The house, the documents, even the funeral arrangements." My chest tightened instantly. "The house?" I repeated. "The next day after the accident, your parents and your brother showed up. At first, they acted normal, upset, emotional, just like anyone would." He paused. "But then, things changed. A quiet uneasiness crept into my chest. They started asking questions," he said, "about the property, about the house, about papers." My heartbeat slowed, but not in a good way. And then, he added, his voice dropping slightly, they started accusing me. My eyes widened. Accusing you of what? I asked. He looked straight at me now, his expression tired, almost broken. They said I had something to do with your accident. For a moment, I couldn't even react. What? I whispered. They said it didn't make sense, he continued, that I was the last one with you, that we had arguments before, that the house is in your name, and I would benefit if you were gone. That's insane, I said immediately, shaking my head. How could they even— They didn't stop there, he cut in quietly. I fell silent. Something deeper, darker was coming. They said they had proof. That word hit differently. Proof? I repeated, slowly.